Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, covering all things Ipswich Town since 2015. My name is Mikey Pensy-Smith, and on this weekend of managerial sackings, I'm joined by two men who have a job for life on this podcast. It's Joe Fair and David Diamond. How are you both?
Yep, good. Thanks, Mikey.
Yeah, well, good. Thanks, Mikey. Yeah, good.
It's been a weird couple of days of football in general, hasn't it? With Parker obviously going at Norwich, Neil Warnock's finished now, and Dean Smith as well, the latest one.
Smith went earlier today.
Yes, that's sort of the build up to the international break, isn't it? Always,
yeah.
The November international break is always a bit of a manager's graveyard because there's a chance now to get people in and give them a 2-week go with the squad, isn't it?
And probably Klopp later this evening.
that would be news, wouldn't it?
Yeah, unlikely.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And who do you expect that lot up the road to go for now? What sort of appointment are they going to make, do you think?
Don't know. There's talk of Lampard. Is Lampard the favourite? Is he? Did I see?
I saw something with Lampard.
He's always floating around. There's a couple of foreign managers I must admit, I don't think I've come across before. Steve Bruce, someone threw in there. I can't see that. Can't quite see that. I don't know. An interesting one. I spoke to I think I said on our WhatsApp earlier. I spoke to a Norwich season ticket holder on London Wednesday, and I said, "Yeah, surely something's got to give." And he was, "Nah, it just won't yet." He said, to be fair, he said the fans are fairly 50-50, but they're sort of relatively happy with the. I think I called it the Championship Premier League tango type thing that they do, So a little bit of a surprise, particularly coming on the back of their obviously best result of the season. But obviously it was obviously in the pipeline for the past weeks probably.
Yeah, I think that's enough about that lot. We'll move into our news. And we kick off this week's news on the Flagship, as we often do, with news from the Ipswich women's team. And unfortunately, it's their first defeat of the season, albeit it was in the cup. Thankfully, they were up against it was a really tough cup draw for them. They were against Southampton, who are also have a perfect record in the league this season. Our very own Rich Woodward was there again. His match report is available on Those Were the Days if you want to find out about that. But according to Rich, it was a quality goal to win it. Town had some chances, but just lacked a little bit of quality in the final third. And it was the biggest crowd of the season, though. This is a huge crowd. This is bigger than what Felixstowe got on Saturday, 619, which is really,
it was a big
really
crowd when I went. I think it was 500 when I went. It's another.
Yeah, it was
20% on top of that, isn't it?
It was busy that day, wasn't it, Joe? We were both there the other week, and it was busy. Yeah, I mean it's just a shame how that league is structured, because I know Ipswich are the girls are what I think they're 9 points ahead, but Southampton have got 3 games in hand, and clearly they're a bit of a steam, like Ipswich, are steamrolling everybody. I mean, I think they've even got a superior goal difference than we have, having played 3 games more, I think, or round about.
Yeah.
The sad thing about that is the bizarre situation is only one is promoted, the other one doesn't.
They're not even promoted. Only one of them goes into the playoff against
one goes into the playoff game with the Northern team. That's right, and the team that finishes second is nowhere. So it's. Yeah, but better to have the points obviously in the bag. But according to Rich, Southampton looked pretty good, as would have been expected. I don't know what sort of team Ipswich put out. No doubt, I haven't read Rich's report in any great depth, but
it looked to me like they were pretty much full strength.
Yeah, it's just whether he was showing his hand. Manager Joe Sheehan was showing his hand totally ahead of the league games.
Yeah,
indeed. Because I think the first one of that is coming up fairly soon. Apparently, Cole Skews was in attendance, and his daughter was one of the flag bearers before kickoff, which is nice. He's still very much.
I mean, it's an odd one as it stands. As it stands, it looked, even at this stage, because of their dominance, it looks like possibly could go to the wire. I mean, it's all going to depend on that. It looks like it's going to depend on those 2 games, and I believe the Southampton home game was could be the last game of the season, or really late, isn't it, Joe? I think it's April.
I think it was supposed to be the last game of the season, but it's now the penultimate game of the season.
Okay.
So hopefully we can, well, not lose when we play Southampton away, and then have it all riding on that game.
Yeah.
Nice.
God, crikey, what sort of gate will they get for that? For goodness' sake, if it's all on that game, goodness me, might get 4 figures down there.
Yeah. That would be great. Staying with Cup football, and on Friday we learned who the under-18s would face next in the FA Youth Cup, Joe, and it's a nice local one for me, isn't it?
Yeah, Aldershot. So Surrey, it's, like I say, it's a decent draw for the youngsters. It means that they should really get through. Like I say, a Category 2 academy of a sort of League One club. It's like I say, it's effectively a Championship academy against a non-league side. So we'd be heavy favourites to win that game. I say we won sort of the week before last against Winslow United, I think it was, and that was sort of without getting out of sort of first gear, and there were a number of players missing. Just you never know whether players are injured or just missing, but there were sort of 4 or 5 players that you'd expect to start, especially forwards, that just weren't involved at all. So, like I say, hopefully just get through that one and get a decent home draw in the third round of the cup, and sort of go some way to emulating what they did last year.
How many sort of left from last year, Joe, still in that team?
There's still a few. It's probably about half and half, really. So you've got sort of Albie Arman and Cam Humphreys, who are the two that have sort of pushed into the first team this year. I think the keeper was.
They're still. Are they still eligible or not?
They're still under 18. Okay. So still got the sort of top 2 players, and then the sort of the striker Buabo and Nico Valentine, the 2 guys that started the Youth Cup semi-final, they're still first years. They were schoolboys last year as well. Wow. So I think the first year scholars is a year group the academy have been very excited about for a long time. I think they've been there since almost like the whole team has been there since they're 8 or 9 years old. The sort of like 8 or 9 of the players have come through the whole way together. So that's one they've been excited about for a long time. And when you look back, sort of last year, the year before, their results against the big academies have always been good. So hopefully we'll do all right this year.
Would these be any of the players that scored that ridiculous goal that sort of what was that? But it's probably
no,
longer ago. I'm thinking it was a couple of years ago, but
it
was probably 5 years ago now, wasn't it?
I think that was that Harry Clark, wasn't it, that scored that goal, who subsequently went to Arsenal, and he's been on loan at Oldham last season, so he's probably about 20 now. No.
Wow, just mad, isn't it? Time. Yeah, because that's was that 14's goal, something like that, wasn't it?
14s or 15s.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Time moves on, doesn't it, Dave?
Yep.
Bersan Salina wrestled back his place in the Ipswich team recently, didn't he? When it looked like Connor Chaplin had nailed down that number 10 role. But looking ahead to the Oxford game next week, and Bersan Salina, as we expected, isn't going to be available. He's been called up to play for Kosovo again. On the one hand, there's a player that's really hitting his stride, but on the other, there's another one who's missed out recently. So Connor Chaplin, we imagine, will come straight back in for Oxford, don't we, Dave?
Yeah, I feel natural. I'll say like for like replacement, not quite, because obviously Salina is much more of a, not so flair player, but dribbler, likes to get on the ball and run with it and dribble, where I think Chaplin's perhaps a more clever sort of touch player, could we say? So yeah, it'd be a far more than able replacement, and Chaplin's been in great form. A little bit unlucky to miss out. At Wickham, which I think was due to, was it back injury or something like that? He had some sort of, he had some sort of niggle
back
or something
spasms,
like,
isn't it?
Something like that. So a ready-made. Look, you'll never replace Salina at that, with his flair at that level. But yeah, for us, a great replacement to come in, and he's been scoring goals, he's been assisting, he's just had a really good start to his Ipswich career, hasn't he?
It's just interesting to see how it plays out with Salina, though, because Chaplin came into the team when he was last on international duty. It's taken the whole break. Salina comes in for one league game, and then he's back off on international duty again. So is Chaplin going to come in and keep his place in the team? Like, I don't think anyone would bet against that. So are we going to starting to try and find a way to get Salina and Chaplin into the same team?
You'd think if he does, Joe, that would probably mean we have a fairly positive result against Oxford. So let's hope that is the case.
Yeah. We won't be too disappointed to see Salina on the bench for the Sunderland game in that respect. Yeah.
Absolutely not, no.
Although there is, of course, a game in between those two, but we'll get to that. Our main man, Macaulay Bonne, will be available, though, Joe, after pulling out of the Zimbabwe squad. Again, that wasn't a shock, but looking at the detail, there is a little bit of a ripple there. He's pulled out on medical grounds, and it looks like his Zimbabwe international future has sort of been put on ice.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? The sort of either the manager or the head of the Zimbabwe Football Federation sort of was quoting a letter sent to him by Stuart Hayton, who's a club secretary at Ipswich, talking about how he's sort of medical exemption for playing in extreme sort of heat and temperatures and along those lines. So it sounds as though he's probably not going to be selected for the foreseeable future, sort of indefinitely, really, at the moment until something changes. Does he have much interest in playing for Zimbabwe at the moment? Probably not. But if we were to be in a championship with international breaks, would he want to play? So I know the sort of guy was talking about how he'd made a lot of effort to get his sort of Zimbabwe nationality, to get his passport sorted, and has obviously tried hard to get there and has played a few times for them. But I think he just is so keen to stay at Ipswich and to help Ipswich get back into the championship, which he's desperate to do, that's taking priority over the international side at the moment. I think Zimbabwe are in the Cup of Nations as well in January, so I presume he won't be going away then at all. He won't be selected. But these qualifiers are dead rubbers at the moment. They can't qualify for the World Cup. So these two games are effectively dead rubbers. So I can see why he's not interested in going to those. But once you make excuses too many times, I think they'll stop calling you up, don't they, effectively?
Indeed. From a selfish standpoint, this is good news for us, really, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, a lot of travel there. I think they were playing South Africa and I think it's Ethiopia, I think. Yeah. So, a lot of travel there back in, back and forth. So, yep, good news for us, that's for sure.
Indeed. Let's move into the match action. And it was Basket Case Oldham who were the visitors at Portman Road on Saturday. They're in all sorts of problems, aren't they? It looked like their fans were protesting against the owners in the away end. But the big shock, Joe, leading into this game was the team news. We've been shocked by team news a lot over the last few years since we've been doing this podcast. But it's probably up there with one of the biggest ever shocks, I think, in terms of the team selection.
Yeah, no, I was obviously in the ground quite early, and I was speaking to a couple of people there, and I was like, "What's the team?" And they're like, "We think it's going to be strong. We're hearing it's strong, but I don't think anyone quite expected it to be as strong as it was, which was effectively the same team from the Wycombe game. The only change to the starting 11 was Cameron Burgess coming in for Hayden Coulson, but Burgess had come on after 20 minutes or so against Wycombe. So it was the team that effectively beat Wycombe 4-1 on Tuesday, and he's elected to give those guys another chance to cement their position as the strongest team. And I think every Ipswich fan would agree that from what was available, that is our strongest team at the moment. And like I say, we went for it there. I was surprised. I thought we'd have seen Joe Pigott get some minutes up front. Maybe Raheem Harper get a start. Luke Wolfenden maybe get a game because he's sort of a long way out of it at the moment. But yeah, he wasn't even on the bench with 9 subs, Luke Wolfenden. So it was one where we went full strength and obviously just sauntered through, got an early goal, kicked on, and now looking forward to the second round draw.
What's the opposite of a spoiler? Dave, I know, so the big caveat is spoiler alert, this hasn't worked out for us, but was a part of you quite happy to see a really strong lineup in the cup for once?
Yeah. Yes, but given
a bit of both, isn't it?
I mean, it is. It's a two-way thing. You know, all it would have taken was hopefully not, but an injury to ultra key players, say Bonne or Morsey or something like that. And you as Cook said, I think, again, spoiler afterwards, you just can't win. You just can't win. Can't win either way. I mean, it's got to be the strongest side Ipswich have put out in an FA Cup tie since I don't know, 90s. I just don't. It's
Maybe it's
mad,
Southampton
isn't
at
it?
home in the replay we did, and
Oh,
sort of
yeah, good
the
point.
Goldrick
Yeah,
and
no,
Hyam got injured, and then we didn't really see him again.
but there you
did
go.
we?
There you go. Yes, we
But
did.
even Mings was left on the bench that day. There was one player left out that day. So,
But it totally shocked me because a mate in the office, he doesn't usually go. I said, "Hey, I've got a ticket to come with my boy." I said, "Oh, we should still have a strong side out." And he said, "Who do you think will play?" And I said, "Oh, Ladkey will play. Wolfenden will definitely be in." And you just pick you're just running through the team. I said, "Yeah, it'll be a much stronger side than we usually put out in any cup side." But when I was shocked when I saw they're like everyone else, fairly taken aback when you see when he saw the side, and totally agree with Joe. Probably was the strongest 11 we could put out.
and shout out to Ben and Seb who did the preview show. I think Ben put it to Seb, who's usually pretty spot on with these sort of things. What do you think the lineup will be? And I think you could add the players that Seb got right on one finger. I think he predicted that Burgess was going to play. Actually, maybe Kane Vincent-Young. But yeah, he did.
Threw us all, didn't it?
Caught us all out. Oldham, they've got Keith Curl in charge, and we know that he likes the three at the back. He went for 3-4-1-2. Do I have to go through the Oldham lineup?
No.
But we fully expected a comfortable Ipswich win, and Joe, it looked like we were heading for one after the first 8 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah, before that, Kyle Edwards had gotten away down the left, put a crossover where Macaulay Bond had a free header. I think from a corner, he'd had another free header, which the keeper saved. So we'd started really on top and started really quickly. And it was Bond again who was the centre of it. And it looked at first like he was taking a shot into the box, sort of trying to bend it into the far corner. But Wes Burns is alert, flies in there, sort of just diverts the ball into the roof of the net, 1-0. And it looks like we're sort of well on our way. We'd started really quickly and sort of fully deserved that early goal and fully deserved to be 1-0 up, and it looked like a case of how many are we going to score today and sort of go into the next round.
Yeah,
indeed, a bit of a role reversal there, wasn't it, Dave? With Bond supplying the ammunition for Burns.
Yeah,
it was
good.
Brilliant run into the box, wasn't it?
Selena wins it, doesn't he? I think, and just rolls it left to Bond, and yeah, he sort of cuts in, sort of one of those, as Joe said, a shot come cross. It just puts just in a good area, isn't it, with pace. It wasn't going to go in, and yeah, really good anticipation from Burns, just slipping around his marker and yeah, just touch it in. That's good finish.
But we failed to build on that strong start. Oldham come close with a couple of headers. But to be fair to them, they were playing well for a team struggling in League Two.
I was listening to it on Suffolk, and Luke Hyam said, I just can't believe how they're playing. They're not playing like a side that's 22nd in League Two. In some phases of play, they're really neat and tidy. And he said they were causing us problems. And I know Joe said it was there. Joe basically said, well, perhaps that's a little bit of an overstatement. They had one or two balls in the box, but that was about it. But yeah, the goal was not Toto's finest moment, was it? And it's, you see, it's not just Enciala. We've said it before. It's a long ball, Hoyt from the fullback into just down the sort of like inside left channel, wasn't it? And again, centre halves, no matter who you are, always vulnerable when the ball drops. I watched the West Ham Liverpool game today, and obviously not Van Dijk, but Matip, let the ball bounce a couple of times, and Antonio, okay, put it in context, but same thing is on him, and you just lose anything. You've got to attack that ball, just get something on it, head it out, whatever. Lets the ball bounce. Then then I think what you don't want him doing, we've said, he then sort of tries to be a bit clever and doesn't quite pull it off, and the ball breaks to Keeler Dunn. I think it's a great finish, I've got to say, because he uses Edmondson as the classic shield, and just bends it past Walton in the far right corner, sort of Dean Holdsworth-esque, if you think the Bolton, the free kick, very similar goal to that.
Yeah, really, the only part of the goal where he could have scored.
Really accomplished finish. I don't think you blame Walton for that. He's nothing doing there. But
no, it's a nice strike.
Yeah, but again, you can see which we habit, which has been a habit just before our time.
We just sort of let them back in the game. Really, it just seemed that they had the sort of couple of balls into the box headers, and we just didn't seem to have that sort of drive just to sort of.
It sounded sloppy, Joe. Even
more.
Morsey.
sloppy.
Even Morsey was like giving the ball and getting caught on the ball, and it just sounded.
It's just a lot of times where you sort of had the ball in decent positions, and Selena and Edward, both of them were sort of just trying to be a little bit too clever with it and sort of step overs and trying to work it. It's like, come on, look, just lace the ball at the goal. Like it's opened up for you. Just try and do something, sort of just to try and flick the switch a little bit, flick the momentum over.
Do you think we just didn't show him enough respect as such? We just thought, 1-0, 8 minutes. This is easy. Walking the park.
I think if anything, the early goal harmed us more than it helped us, because I think the sort of players went out there expecting to win, scored that early goal, and almost just sort of packed up from that point. They just didn't. They, like I say, Cook said it all after the game, that there just wasn't the desire, there wasn't the fight, it wasn't right, and it was. Like I say, it just was a sloppy performance, of real, I don't know, lethargic, really very, very flat performance. The crowd was quite flat because it was a small crowd.
Didn't help, did it?
Quite a flat crowd, flat performance, and no, it just wasn't very good.
Just on the goal, you've mentioned NCL's defending there. To me, his body language is somebody that's playing against a team from a lower level. I think in a League One game, he's probably he's sprinting and he's putting that one into the stand.
Yeah.
But because maybe it was, to me it looked like, because he's playing against lower league opposition, his stride looks so casual. Yeah. And then
I wasn't sure whether the guy he was up against
can turn inside.
Because it was at Hallam Hope he was up against. I know he came through the Everton Academy. I wondered whether they were sort of teammates of that age. So what's
good point?
Hope, 27. I don't know. Toto might be a bit older, but I'm sure they knew each other from the academy days, because Hope was always one that was pushed on. Yeah, so he's a couple of years younger than him, but they'd have been at Everton together. So I know it just seemed the whole team just didn't. I don't know. We just didn't seem to show enough respect to Oldham, or and we got what we deserved, really.
Cook did make a couple of changes at half time. Obviously, you can make 4 substitutions in the FA Cup at this stage, at least.
5.
The fullbacks were changed with.
What
did I say? Did I say 4? Yeah, 5 changes. Came Vincent Young and Burgess came off for Donasian and Penny. How did Vincent Young look, Joe, after playing 90
minutes? Fine, as fine as anyone else, really. Like I said, I don't know. It almost felt, because they both went off, that it was almost like pre-planned substitutions in that.
Yeah.
They were sort of both off because they are probably the most leggy positions on the pitch, where you get up and down, and also we don't really have anyone that can fill in those positions in other games. So it did feel like they were just, because they were not by any means the worst players or struggling or having a bad half. It just felt a little bit pre-planned on those ones.
Yeah, and it's again a slow start to the second half. Chaplin comes on for Edwards. 2 minutes later, though, Oldham have a penalty, and what's happened with that one there, Joe? It was at your end of the ground, wasn't it?
No one really seemed to know. It's sort of a throw into the box that got flicked on, and it just bounces, and then Donasian's challenging one player, then Evans is challenging another, and then all of a sudden the ref gives it sort of ends up going over the bar, and the ref gives a penalty, and sort of everyone's looking confused. Donasian looks especially confused, and then Donasian gets booked. So you presume the foul is against Donasian, but then at one point it looks like the ref's going to go over to speak to the linesman, but he then doesn't. But like I say, I've had a look back at the highlights, but there's only the one angle of it, and I don't really see anything Donasian does. Evans does seem to have a full hand of the shirt.
There's a shirt tug, isn't it, from Evans?
That's what it looks like. But then
just gets a bit of his shirt. Yeah, he just gets a bit of his shirt right in front of the ref, and they shout quite loud for it, and he gives it.
But the ref must have sort of given it against Donasian, because he books him too quickly for it to be for dissent. It's just it must be against Donasian, but no, it was sloppy. But it didn't look a penalty to anyone else. I don't think. Like I say, I think everyone's very, very surprised it was given, or even could work out what was happening there. But it was, like I say, it was given, and they had a golden chance to win the tie there.
They did, Dave. But what a save!
Yeah, I guess it's right. It's a brilliant save, because I wouldn't say it's the worst penalty in the. I mean,
he's
added nice height for a keeper, which that old one. But I mean, he really gets across. I mean, he really gets across his goal line really well. Obviously, he guesses right, and it's a very good save, because you're right. It's not. I've seen a lot worse struck penalties than that, and it wasn't that far away from the corner. But the key is he guesses right, and his whole 6 foot, whatever he is, 5 is, I don't know, stretches his whole frame, and it's a really strong arm, strong hand, and yeah, great save. I mean, I think probably if you then look, well, it was interesting. I wonder if it was Evans, because Evans then goes up to him, gives him a big hug. So I read into that what you will. I don't know, but yeah, it's a great save, and he's looked really good, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. Makes a big difference having a decent goalkeeper, doesn't it? The save actually, it seemed to reignite Ipswich a little bit, at least for a few minutes. Chaplin had a free kick from quite a tight angle, saved by the opposition keeper. Luco and Harper came on for Burns and Evans for the last few minutes. We have one final chance. Luco puts a fantastic ball into the box. Ntiala sort of gets over the top of it, doesn't really get good contact. It looks like, it looked like he was maybe claiming a penalty, but nothing given in it by the sounds of it. Oldham, well worth their replay, weren't they, Jay?
Yeah, no, I'd say so. I'd say, especially after the start, tough start for them. They went behind. We came out of the blocks quickly. We got ahead. We had a few chances, and they just sort of grew into the game. And it was a pretty even game from there. Like I say, I think if either of us won it, I don't think it would have been a just result. I think a draw was a fair result. And now we've got the task of a tie back up in the northwest, in between Oxford on the Saturday and Sunderland the following Saturday.
Yeah, it's next Tuesday night, isn't it? As you say, sandwiched between two of the toughest and biggest games of the season. Surely, with the logistics involved, Dave, you expect a completely different lineup for that one.
I think you can safely say, surely, as you're right in saying, surely, notwithstanding the result against Oxford this coming Saturday, you'll see a much changed side for that one, I should think, given what's coming up on the Sunderland away coming up on the following Saturday. I think that is pretty much a given, I would have thought, and probably similar to the side that Seb thought would be going out yesterday, perhaps.
But you're in a difficult position now, aren't you?
It could even be a more inexperienced team than the one that Seb was touting.
Well, could be, but you are in a difficult position where you've said we're taking the FA Cup seriously. So do you have to follow that through into the replay? But when you look at the logistics of it, the game is on the Tuesday. I think generally this season for the midweek away games, we've travelled up on the Monday, so you'd effectively train Monday morning, go up there, then you'd have a little jog about there Tuesday, play the game, come back overnight the Wednesday, which means you've got Wednesday off. Thursday, you'd probably want to travel up to Sunderland, and then
maybe it is.
And then Friday, do you just send a total second team up there? Do you just send the subs up there, keep your main sort of 14, 15 back, and try and get some sort of time on the training pitch with them, and send the reserves up effectively? Cook just goes up and down for the day and just tries to manage his team that way, because you really, like, the Sunderland game is the absolute priority, and I don't think losing effectively 3 days training, well, you effectively lose the whole week's training. What do you have otherwise? You got training sort of Tuesday morning. That's about it until sort of Thursday morning. So you're going to lose at least 3 sessions, aren't you, that week by trying to play the game, and it's just all going to be recovery, isn't it? And I just don't. It just doesn't seem worth it for me. But we'll see.
Not ideal at all. But we weren't the only teams up near the top of League One to put themselves in this position. Wigan, Wycombe, Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, and Oxford all face replays as well next Tuesday. It's crazy.
Interestingly, Sunderland aren't in that position.
Yeah, that's the only one that matters, sadly, this time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. They didn't get a late equaliser, really.
So the draw for the second round is on Monday. Who do you like to play? Do you fancy Gateshead away, Dave? Carry on your northeast tour?
Gateshead, do you think? Yeah, Gateshead away. I don't know. Cole you at home.
Anyone at home. Anyone at home.
Yeah, really. Yeah, let's get to bloody hell.
Beat them this time, if we can beat Oldham.
Third round, for goodness sake.
Right, let's
cup fever. Get some cup fever.
Indeed, let's get into the questions.
Incredible. Sorry,
Dave. Incredible.
No, the incredible stat was that we had. Well, when you think about it, we hadn't won a home FA Cup game since 2009.
Was that?
I missed that game.
Swansea,
Chesterfield 1-3-0. I can vaguely remember it.
Yeah, Darren Curry was playing for Chesterfield, wasn't he, Dave? I'm sure he was.
on that one.
I think I remember that one.
Surely I remember that. Surely. But I think, yeah. But
the
that was
slow
the
winger.
last. Yeah, slow swinger. Yeah.
Magic in those boots, though.
Cool.
Right, we'll go into the questions. Dave Gort first up. Will the Colchester match? Obviously, that's coming up on Tuesday. The pizza cup, the Papa John's Trophy. Will the Colchester match be a fringe player lineup with the likes of Fraser, Chaplin, Piggott, or more of a third string with players like Baggett, Clement, Humphreys, perhaps? What do you think?
Well, I think those fringe players are going to want the minutes, aren't they? They're going to want to play. So, I don't think I was expecting yesterday or Saturday to be the second string game, and then Tuesday to be the third string, is effectively the sort of first/second team, and then a second/third team for that game. But now we've gone first team. I think Joe Piggott's going to want a game. Scott Fraser's going to want a game.
Yeah.
Luke Wolfenden's going to want a game.
Goalkeeper.
Ladkey's going to want a game, aren't they?
Harper.
Well,
yeah, it's still going to be reasonably. If that is the way, it's still going to be reasonably strong side, and then you'd like to see someone like Humphreys perhaps get a run because he's got some quality there. Maybe the other lad you mentioned, perhaps. Armin.
Yeah, who knows? It could be Louis Barry's farewell game as well.
I mean, yeah, I think that's a given, isn't it? Almost.
Alex Hare asks, with 4 forwards, we yet again created very few chances. Why do you think this is? And do you think Fraser could be deployed in an attacking midfield position? And are our players better suited to 4-3-3? I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, that final one, isn't it? Because even if they are, Paul Cook's not going to play that formation.
But then sometimes, depending on who the 10 is, it does almost become a 4-3-3, doesn't it? If Selena does play a lot deeper than sort of where Chaplin seems to play as a second striker. So it does work. But we all season, we haven't, considering the amount of goals we've scored, we don't create a huge amount of chances for how many goals we scored. And on the flip side, we don't concede a huge amount of chances for the amount we seem to concede. So but at both ends of the pitch, there seems to be combination of good finishing and bad goalkeeping, and hopefully sort of the latter, the bad goalkeeping, seems to have stopped from us since Walton's coming to the side. But I don't know, it just seems when we create chances, we create very good chances rather than create lots. It's like we're always trying to create that perfect chance of getting get to the byline and getting a pull back in, which gives you a really good chance of goal, as opposed to just sort of taking half chances all over. Which
is probably why the misses, when we do miss, are quite like, I know we hark back to the one at Cheltenham and maybe the header he had against Fleetwood, which was about 3 or 4 yards out and stuff. Perhaps and the chances obviously we missed last week at Plymouth. They're probably thinking back of the chances created in a game. That last week at Plymouth, those 3 near the end were probably the most clear cut we've made all season in one game.
So Dave, I'm just putting that question to you as well. Are you happy with that front 4? And obviously we'll call it a front 4 with either Chaplin or Selena playing in that number 10. Or do you still think there might be a different combination that might work better?
I don't know. I mean, Fraser had the brilliant season for MK last year, effectively playing in that 10 role, didn't he? And we haven't really seen him at all in that role, have we? I can't recall having seen him there. So you just don't know. I think we've sort of said before, sometimes you sort of stumble across something, be it via suspension, be it injury and stuff like that, and it works. You've seen it loads of times before. So yeah, who knows? Maybe Fraser will get a run in that role on Tuesday evening. Be interesting to see. But no, I mean, those front 4 you mentioned, you got to be happy with those. Any team will be happy with those at that level, for goodness sake.
I think it's just the left side of it that hasn't quite worked itself out
yet.
Yeah, Edwards
is not.
Obviously, you look at Bon up front. Well, he's taken a chance with both hands. Even on the right hand side, I think both Burns and Aluko have been 2 of our better players this season. Brilliant. I think either of those could start, and both of those we feel hard done by to not start, because they've both been very good. Again, in the 10 role, Selena and Chaplin have done it. They've both been good there, haven't they? And they offer different threats, but they've both scored goals, created goals in that position. It's just on that left role we played. Obviously, Fraser's played there a lot. Kyle Edwards has now played there a few times, and neither of them have quite grabbed that opportunity, have they? With sort of both hands there, like those on the other side of the pitch have.
I mean, I think that, what's helped Burns is clearly Danassian. Danassian's come in and has been really good, hasn't he? Very, very consistent level of performance. And, maybe Penny, who, I haven't, certainly in home games, I think he's been half decent, but we haven't seen enough of Coulson due to injury and one thing and another. And now, how long he's going to be out now, I don't really know. So I think that's certainly helped on the right side. How did Edwards? Was Edwards usual? Edwards like yesterday?
Yeah, did well enough
He's a
with
player.
the ball, and
flipping love watching him.
Like I say, he put very early on. He just stands the fullback up and stands up to the back post, and Bond probably again should do better with a header, but heads it sort of too close to the keeper, so he's safe. But he creates a couple of shots, but he does. The more you see him, the harder you realise he works defensively. He's really starting to put that work in defensively, but he just has had, and some of it's not his fault because it's bad finishing as opposed to bad wide play, but he just hasn't had the numbers yet, has he? He hasn't. I don't think he's got an assist yet, even though like a Wickham, that was his standard fullback and puts a cross in, which then the keeper
he doesn't get the number.
He doesn't get the assist, and I know it's not all about numbers, but you would still like to see, because all like Burns has got 3 or 4 goals and 2 or 3 assists. Alina's got 3 goals and 3 assists. Chaplin's got 3 or 4 goals and a couple of assists, and just on that left side, no one's got anything from that position. I think Fraser might have an assist or 2, but it's all very much
still a fairly young player. It's a sort of player that needs a goal. One of those runs, one of those mazy runs in the box, and scores a great goal. And then his confidence is up, and he's often up and running sort of thing. It's probably something like that.
We'll see. Philip Everson, with the benefit of 2020 hindsight, was that team hungry enough for the cup tie? Did these players have anything to prove in that game, as opposed to those not in possession of the shirt? Was it? Yeah, it was sort of a missed opportunity, really. We could have had. I mean, I guess we saw it in the second half, didn't we? A few players on the fringes came on, but there was.
They weren't hungry enough, and I don't think that's a criticism of any individual, but as a team, they weren't hungry enough.
It was after the Lord's Mayor show a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Sounds like a couple of things. One, perhaps they didn't quite give them enough respect, and that generally comes from just underestimating the opposition.
It was interesting because on the Kings of Anglia pod last week, Stuart Watson was talking about Sam Morsey, and he sort of said, at the performance at Wickham, he was saying that he sort of had always got the impression initially that Morsey wasn't particularly enamoured with the move to Ipswich. He didn't really want the move. He didn't really want to drop down, and sort of some of his early performances showed. He sort of just wasn't sort of going through the motions at times, where he sort of
a bit,
starts to do something, but wasn't finishing things off. Where the sort of after, but then he said after he came off the pitch at the Cambridge game, Mick Mills had said, like, when your captain's this angry after a bad defeat, you're in a good place because he's going to help drive you on from there. And like I say, since then he's been brilliant at Wickham. He was superb, but yesterday it just didn't really seem to. I'm not saying didn't want to be there, but it just seemed that sort of earlier form where he just wasn't quite with it and wasn't quite committed to the game like we know he can be. And it seems that if he's not playing well, Evans doesn't really tend to play well alongside him, because Evans needs Morsey to drive him on for Evans to then stand out. And then those two weren't playing well, and that's sort of the fulcrum of your team, really, isn't it? There,
yeah.
Indeed, right. There wasn't loads of tweets. I mean, as you expect after a 1-1 draw in the FA Cup in front of 9,000 fans in round 1. Somebody tweeted and removed it, but I made a note of it. What can the club try and do to? This is completely changing the subject here, but what more can the club do to get a decent crowd in for cup games like this one? Do you think the first and second round should be free for season ticket holders, Dave? Obviously, you made the decision not to go on Saturday.
Would
you have gone if it was a free ticket, or if they were offering you a nice savoury pastry or something?
I was thinking of going, and then I had that from them. But given that I've got a whole weekend away up in the northeast in a couple of weeks, I had that from the missus. You're not going to football tomorrow, are you? I had that sort of. Okay, that was that. It was that sort of. It was that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The loaded question sort of thing. No, I agree. I mean, I think tickets were $11.50 with a booking fee or a tenner or something like that. But was that enough to get people excited? I don't know. It wouldn't make any difference to me. But maybe even cheaper than that, maybe a £5 or something like that. I mean, how much is it for Tuesday for Tuesday evening is about £5, isn't it? I don't know what it is.
I can't remember. I don't really look,
I
to be
don't.
honest.
But
But
I
no,
don't. Not
it's difficult, isn't it? Because there is very little interest in the early rounds of the cup when you see how our form has been in it over the years, and maybe if Paul Cook is going to play strong teams in FA Cup games and he is going to be here for 2, 3, 4 seasons, then that's the only way the interest is going to grow, isn't it? By having good runs and getting going. Because, like I say, there's a lot of games now in this league. When you've got 23 games as a season ticket holder, you've got 2 more games in the Papa John's Trophy. You've got League Cup games, FA Cup games. It's hard to get people there for the games where they haven't paid for them, when they're already shelling out 30, 40 quid a month on their season ticket, to then say, oh, we need some more money to watch what is normally our reserves play against a League 2 bottom dweller. Come and join us. But I thought the attendance wasn't bad, 9,500 or nearly 9,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. Very good.
I don't know how that compared to other clubs around the country. I can't say I've taken much notice of that, but it is, I'd say it's a very difficult one for the club to attract people to, and you sort of take what you can get, really, don't you?
Yeah,
you do. So my question to you two gents: do you think this lack of performance could mean that there are a few changes now for the Oxford game, or do you think it would just be a case of Chaplin in for Selena and then get them going again?
Maybe Donasian in. Maybe Donasian in for Vincent Young, I would have thought. But
the left back,
maybe Penny back in at left back.
Potentially, I
Penny
suppose.
Or Coulson, depending on status.
Yeah, no, I can't see it having any great bearing on it, really. You'd think he'd get at them tomorrow or whenever they're back in and have a, make them sit through it. I don't know, but I think they realise they've underperformed. So no, I can't. You want to keep. It is a shame, because you did want to keep. I know I said before, that momentum. You want to keep that momentum from the absolute brilliant result and the performance at Wycombe. So yeah, it's clearly. They had their foot off the gas. They had their foot off the gas yesterday. Because I mean, if you looked at the quality and you looked at who you were playing, and you think, as Joe said, you went 1-0 up after about 8 minutes, and I thought myself, oh, crikey, this is going to be a feast of goals here, Doncaster or something. And then obviously it just didn't pan out that way. But no, you'd think pretty much the same side with certainly with Donasian in and Chaplin in for Selena. I would have thought injuries, touchwood, injuries permitting.
Do you take the blue tinted specs view of it, that it was maybe a good thing that after the Wycombe game you put in such a flat performance? It was an FA Cup game that maybe.
Oh yeah, crikey! If that was a league game,
take that, because if that was a league game
Oxford
after that, you'd have put in that performance. You'd have, or even if you had a game against a weaker team in the league, and
true,
you put in a poor performance, get a poor result. Maybe it's nice to get that
result
out of the way against a team that, in a match that doesn't really matter, and it allows Cook to sort of build them up and sort of kick their asses a bit next week into it, and sort of make sure that people realise what the standards need to be without having affected our league campaign. I think that's.
He made a really weird comment afterwards. I think he said in his presser, and he said, "Our inconsistency is our consistency."
Yeah, that's your
job. Dave, that's one of his favourites, apparently.
Is it really?
And I've referred back to this pod a few times now, but the podcast I did with the Wigan and Portsmouth fans, Danny the Wigan fan, listed a couple of little quirks.
Oh, is that one of them?
Paul Cook's, and apparently, our inconsistency is. I've got it wrong now, Dave. You'll have to repeat it again.
Inconsistency is our consistency.
Our consistency, yeah. Apparently, that's one that he's used a few times. And when I saw it written down, I did think, "Oh, that's the first time we've heard that one."
No, I think we had that the other week. Actually,
did we?
It's the second time we've had it. Yeah,
that's the old Cook bingo card.
Cookism.
Yeah. But like I say, the team's starting to work itself out, isn't it? When you look from front to back, and Walton is nailed down that keeper's slot. Edmondson is nailed down the centre half role, and I think it's going to be Ntiala alongside him for the foreseeable future, at least. Then you've got Morsey and Evans in front of him. Yeah. Bourne up front. That's sort of your spine of your team, and then Donasian probably has nailed down that right hand side role. But I still think that Vincent Young will be, come the end of the season, will probably be the player in possession of that shirt. Left back is just Coulson's injuries just really held us back there, hasn't it? To know what he wants to see, because
could we go Vincent Young at left back?
You could, but you sort of don't get that balance, do you? You don't get
No.
that nicer balance when
Untried,
you've got
innit?
someone coming in
Any
that side.
news? I haven't seen anything. Was there any word on that causing injury, Joe? Was there anything come out? I haven't seen
No,
anything.
not seen anything at all on it. But there doesn't seem to be much info coming out re-injuries.
It looked an impact injury rather than a sort of like a groin or a hamstring or calf or anything like that.
But then Freddie Sears' bad knee injury at Norwich was an impact one, wasn't it?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Because I remember saying it. Oh, it's just a knee on knee. That'll be all right.
ACL. It was an ACL, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good point.
Fingers crossed for Coulson. He did look devastated when he walked off the other night.
Yeah, he did. Well, he just can't catch a break, can he?
No. So the preview show will be back later this week with Rich returning alongside Seb. And a week from now, we'll hopefully be able to reflect on a decent win in the Flagship show. Is there any last word from you both before we say goodnight?
No, just quickly, I've got to say, just enjoyed watching the Ipswich Vets, the ex-Ipswich Vets side Friday evening up at Sudbury. That was quite good. And I'm sure Freddie Sears didn't score goals. We might have done first season, but he didn't score goals like that for us lately, did he?
It's good. It's good. I'm happy for Sears actually.
Me too.
Enjoy his football again.
Cole Skews could have had a cigar on Friday night, couldn't he?
Just strolling around in his slippers, wasn't he?
Yeah. That might not be the last time he plays at AFC Sudbury.
Yeah. We've got the release of Football Manager 2022 is Tuesday. So hopefully my data for Ipswich Town looks okay. So if anyone's downloading that, having a look and trying to do a better job than anyone and get Ipswich promoted. I think it seems from the sort of beta, it seems that getting Ipswich out of this league has been quite an easy task for some people. So we'll see how they get on. But we're hoping to release something in the middle of the week with regards to some FM content. So keep your eyes peeled to the socials.
Are you on the credits, Joe?
I am on there, yeah.
Oh, love it.
Very exciting to tell my parents.
All the big names on there. Thanks very much, gents.
Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Joe.
Cheers. Up the Town.
Up the Town.